I hope that this will be a eye-opener for everybody in the power that you have within LinkedIn. Now, before I get started, I just want to give you a little bit of background on me and what qualifies me to be here today and to speak to you guys and to show you the power of LinkedIn in order to grow your business, increase sales, as well as revenue. I come from a technical background. I've been IT manager for Davies Industrial Diamonds in the early 90s. And after that, I moved into the call center industry. And it was in the call center industry that we were looking at social media as a means to generate leads. It was in the early 2004, 2005, when Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn started to become forces to reckon with, but it was early days. And LinkedIn specifically, in the beginning, were full of technical errors, and it was just not doing what we aimed it to do. It was only until about 2012, when I was the CEO for Call Center Hub, that I decided that LinkedIn is a piece of technology. If I can understand how LinkedIn works, I can crack the code and get the results that I'm looking for. Well, needless to say, we were very successful. We grew Call Center Hub purely on LinkedIn. We did no other form of advertising or marketing, to the extent that Call Center Hub eventually was bought by a concern in Australia in 2015. And that's when I decided I had fun. And that birthed Marketing CX. And ever since then, my company, Marketing CX, focuses mainly on the corporate world in doing a LinkedIn Done For You service for them. And in the last 2 years, we started focusing on the smaller business, because the smaller business is really struggling the most on LinkedIn in finding ways to get a return on their time, effort, and money investment. What I want to do today is I want to lay a very solid foundation with you in understanding how LinkedIn works. If you lay a solid foundation, everything after that becomes easy. You can attract your ideal clients, convert them into leads and ultimately clients with ease. It happens for a lot of us on LinkedIn by just starting the right way. I was saying before you guys came on to Tracy, the first impressions last. And also, if you start in the right way, success is guaranteed. So what I want to do is I just want to start off with a quick presentation and show you what LinkedIn is all about and how it is in actual fact put together. And then I'm going to show you where you should start when you start with your LinkedIn account. Now, for some of you, you might have a LinkedIn account for years, and you might have been active on LinkedIn for quite some time. I've seen in the audience people that follow me, that I've seen on my own webinars. So I know there are people that's been on LinkedIn. What I would like you to do is just keep an open mind today, because I'm going to show you things you haven't seen before. And of that, I am absolutely certain, because I have been doing LinkedIn since 2004 and doing it on a daily basis since 2015. And I do know that some of the techniques that we apply in Marketing CX and that I teach and advocate to my followers is not something that everybody knows about or use. So the first thing we need to have a great understanding is, why LinkedIn? Why is it such a powerful platform? Now, if we look at LinkedIn, what you need to understand, it's a business to business platform. It is there for business to business kind of businesses to generate leads. Now, in looking at business to business, what we're looking at is if you are selling products or services to another business, LinkedIn is the platform to be. If you are selling products or services directly to the consumer, your chances of success is 37%. Because it is a professional platform. However, we have found ways in positioning your product or service directly to the consumer in such a way that you're still approaching a business. To give you an example, in the call center industry, I was dealing with hands-on for call centers, massage companies that used to do neck and shoulder massages for call center agents. Now, they used to go out and promote their services directly to the consumers in call centers. But we turned it around to approach call centers or customer experience managers. Another example is I had a company that offered jewelry, and they were sitting on Facebook, not making a lot of traction on Facebook. And what we did is we transformed the offer as a corporate gift. So there are ways to turn it around. But what you need to understand, it is for business to business, and that is where we are going to focus on in LinkedIn. The other thing that you need to understand with LinkedIn, it is a social media platform. However, your audience are business professionals. This is not a platform where you are going to share what you had for supper. And it's also not the kind of platform where you are going to be very personal. I like to use the term, you need to be personal but professional. In other words, you need to always take into consideration the audience. And even though LinkedIn is a social media platform, it uses the social media technology for digital marketing purposes. But LinkedIn, in fact, is a marketing tool and probably one of the strongest marketing tools online available today. So that's just a background on the platform itself. In having said that, there are three major challenges that you need to understand when you start working your LinkedIn account. You need to understand who's your audience, what are they looking for, and how do you stay in control. Now, if you look at who is your audience, what you need to realize when you're on LinkedIn, you're in a seller's market. Every single person that opens a LinkedIn account does so with the mindset of promoting their services, their products, their offers, their NGOs. They're there to do promotions. And in being in a seller's market, the competition is fierce. And it is a very busy world. It is therefore important that when you start working on LinkedIn, that you bear in mind that you have to stand out. You've got to be different. You can't do same old as everybody else. You've got to find your unique proposition, and you need to position yourself uniquely on LinkedIn. Otherwise, you are just going to be part of this big market and stay together. You know, we went away last week to the Kruger Park, and in driving around in the Kruger Park, we spotted a leopard, but it was so fast. We had to reverse to go back to see this leopard and make sure that we were in fact correct in seeing a leopard. But It was a leopard. It had the spots of a leopard. Unfortunately, she dived into the bushes very quickly, and we couldn't take a picture to go and brag and say we saw a leopard in the Kruger. But what I saw was it wasn't a lion. It wasn't a cheetah. It wasn't a tiger. It was a leopard, because the identification was clear. She had the spots. It was a leopard. And if you think about your positioning on LinkedIn, that is the kind of thing that you need to look at. And the general term for that is branding. You need to look at your branding up front in LinkedIn to make sure that you are recognizable. That when you go out and you start commenting, engaging with other people, posting your content, that people know who you are. And I will discuss a little bit more on that once we jump into LinkedIn and show you what I mean. But just bear in mind that you are in a very busy market. The second challenge is finding your ideal client. Now, this is something that could be a daunting task for most businesses. I have heard over the last 17 years, when I ask the question, who's your ideal client? People will say to me, everybody. I mean, I do LinkedIn marketing. So everybody should do LinkedIn marketing. And that is not true. You need to understand the methodology about finding your ideal client. Who are they? What do they do? Why would they look at you as the solution? What is the problems they have? What is the challenges they experience? And one of the biggest problem areas that people have in finding their ideal client on LinkedIn is, if you look at Facebook, you can say, I want a female that's in her 30s, that's part of a family that drives a Ferrari. You can't do that on LinkedIn because there's no search filters for those criteria. So how do you find your ideal client is something that you need to be clearly embedded in your mind, so that when you're out there, that you're actually speaking to the right people. The saying of, if you speak to the right person at the right time with the right message, you made a client, holds true here. There are 4 criteria that always works. And the only reason why these criteria works on LinkedIn is because of the data that LinkedIn collects. You must remember, LinkedIn is servicing their own user base. And most people jump on LinkedIn and just get started and omit certain information. And for you to then find them is going to be a daunting task. But the 4 criteria that you can rely on, because most people are very diligent in providing these, is their title, their industry, their geography, and the size of their company. If you focus on those as a starting point, you cannot go wrong, and you will find your ideal client with ease. What you need to understand, LinkedIn is, as I said, on social media, but you have to control your activities on LinkedIn. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time, a lot of effort. And if you measure your time in monetary terms, a lot of money as well. The question I always ask people, if you have 500 connections, if you've got 1,000 connections, 10,000, or the limit within LinkedIn is 30,000, how do you build relationships, meaningful business relationships with 30,000 people? It's a close to impossible task. So you've got to have a method to actually manage your relationships that you are forming and building on LinkedIn. It is not just about lead generation. It is not just about branding. You also need to take into consideration that you're looking at referrals, introductions, being known, being recognizable, adding value, and so on. So in LinkedIn, you need to have a method of work. There has to be method in your madness. Otherwise, you're going to haphazardly jump from pillar to post and not knowing what's working and what doesn't work. Now, one of the methods that we use is based on our 4 pillars. The first thing is you must have a hyper-optimized profile. Everything starts with your profile. So you need to have a profile that is going to position you as a thought leader, as an expert, as a specialist, as a go-to person for your community that you're building on LinkedIn. You have to have the right outbound prospecting strategy. I want to stand still for a minute because I'm going to use the word strategy a lot. On LinkedIn, before you even start, you need to have a marketing strategy. What does that mean? In simple terms, if you have your customer on the one end, your customer prospect lead on the one side, and on the other side, you've got a clear understanding of what it is they want to achieve. To bring them from where they are to what they want, you need to build a bridge. And that bridge that you're building for them is going to be your strategy, your method of work. So you need to understand, how are you going to do prospecting on strategy? How are you going to do this lead journey for people that you just connect to until they actually engage with you and show interest in your offers, your products and services? At the same time, the third pillar is very important, and that is content. Think about content as the universal language of the online world. That's how we speak to one another. Think about Facebook. When you do a post update on Facebook and showing people what you had for supper, that is a method of talking to other people on the platform. So content is nothing else as the universal language. That's what we talk. So the better you talk and the better your understanding of how your content is going to put your connections on a journey, the more successful you're going to be. And you must have a dialed-in sales process to make money. Remember, we are on LinkedIn to make money. You're not just there to be seen as a good person. In marketing CX, we advocate that we do generosity as a service, because I do a lot of these webinars and a lot of these training at a no cost. However, at some point in time, we're not an NGO. We need to make money. We're still in business. So how are you going to take the marketing qualified leads that you create on LinkedIn and close the sale? If you understand that process up front, then you know what message to send to people on LinkedIn, so that when you're in the sales, it becomes a near nudge. So in understanding the background of LinkedIn, how does LinkedIn work? Well, let us look at LinkedIn as a funnel system. And this is what LinkedIn is a funnel system. LinkedIn was created, and as I said in the beginning, if you look at it from a technical point of view, LinkedIn was created as a funnel system for the simple reason you're going to start building a relationship and possibly land up with 30,000, that's the limit, connections, and you need to control those connections. You need to, if I see someone piping up in my message inbox on LinkedIn, I can go into that person's profile and immediately see where am I on the journey that I'm walking with him. Have I introduced them to my page? Did I introduce them to my group? Did I introduce them to my content? Did we have a Zoom meeting? How far am I with that person? And this is how you gain control in LinkedIn, is by using a very strong funnel system. So if we look at the funnel that LinkedIn gives us, when you open your LinkedIn account, you always get a profile. It's a given. Now, the purpose of the profile is to position you as a thought leader, as an expert, as a specialist. One of the most important things with a profile, unless you are on LinkedIn because you are actively seeking career enhancement or a job, if you're there to promote your business, you need to understand that your profile is not your resume. It is not there to tell them that you are a CEO. Remember my example about the leopard with the leopard spots. Do you know how many CEOs are on LinkedIn? Thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. So why do you want to position yourself as a CEO? Nobody cares that you're a CEO. The purpose of your profile is really to tell them what is in it for them. And the challenge that you have is when somebody lands on your profile, you've got 3 seconds to get their interest, to want to scroll and look at your profile. So unless you set up your profile the correct way, you are going to find yourself losing opportunities by people that you actually want to engage with that just leaves. Now, here comes the problem. A lot of people go into LinkedIn, open their profile quick, and just get going so that they can start reaching out and see some results, very focused on their results, and then crickets. Nothing happens. Nobody responds to their content. Nobody responds to their messaging. They can sit for days in preparing the perfect post and get 0 likes, but 0 comments. They send out message after message and people don't respond. They send out second connections and people don't engage after they accepted the connection. And this is when the race starts in connecting with as many as possible to find that one that is going to be willing to start talking to you, at least respond. So people just sit and connect and connect and connect for no reason. What LinkedIn has done is it's given you the opportunity to open your LinkedIn page. Now, the LinkedIn page is for your business. And this is where you're going to position your business as a brand leader. So what you want to do is you want to start connecting with your ideal clients in your profile, positioning you as a thought leader. Remember, people buy from people. People do not buy from a business. That is why the profile comes first. Once you've established the relationship and the connection, you then want to introduce them to your business because your business is a brand leader. So you invite them to follow your page. So you push them from your profile down into your page, and you can see that it's almost like a double whammy. On the one hand, you position yourself as the thought leader, giving them huge value because you focus on what's in it for them. You focus on their problems, their challenges, you speak their language, and now you position, you ask them to follow your page, and on your page, you now show them how you as a thought leader are backed up by a very strong brand, by positioning your page as a business where you almost give your business a personality. People always ask me, so what do I post on my page? Do I now have to post on my profile and my page? Yes. On your profile, you post as you. So it's I. It is my story. It is my expertise. On your page is our team, our offer, our industry news, and so on. Now you can see the package deal that you can create and how strong a brand you can become on LinkedIn by just using the funnel to push people from the profile to the page. Once you've established people in the page, you selectively go open a group. Now, this is a very contentious area in LinkedIn, because people view groups on LinkedIn as a dumping ground for their posts and articles because nobody else wants to respond to it. Nobody engage with it. Nobody likes it. So they want to use other people's groups to just go and dump it. But what the group in LinkedIn, in fact, is, it is the most powerful online networking tool available today. Because what you do is, let's take ORT as an example. ORT is hosting these webinars and weekly events. They can go and create a group to say, let us as ORT members talk about business growth. And then they invite all the webinar attendees and the event attendees to join the group and continue the conversation there. And that is what the group in LinkedIn is for. It's for like-minded professionals to support and assist each other to better themselves. Another way to explain the difference is, on the profile and page, you are going to push. You're going to push yourself out there as a thought leader. You're going to push your business out there as a brand leader. But in the group, you are going to pull. The group is not about you posting a lot of content and so on. The group is about the group members participating, asking questions. How does this work? Does anybody else have this problem? And so on. It really becomes an online networking tool. And this is how LinkedIn, in fact, has been set up for you to use as a basis, your profile page and group. And if you are there to focus on lead generation, I've drawn the funnel like this for a very specific reason, because at any point in time, whether it's in your profile, your page, or your group, you can generate leads. People can have a look at you as a thought leader and say, I need to know more. They can look at your business as a brand leader and say, I need to know more. For those that are a little bit slow on the intake, they can go through the entire funnel, but once they're in the group, you are going to generate leads. It's a given, because they have now seen you. They've seen you as a thought leader, as a brand leader. In your group, you can have your customers, your leads, your prospects, your partners, everybody in the group. And it almost, to me, sometimes feels like a Me Too scenario, because when some of my prospects and leads on LinkedIn see who I am, what I do, what I have to offer in my group, they put their hand up and say, I want to have what your customers have. I want to have what these people are saying about you. And that's how you generate leads. So that is a foundation then of how you generate leads on LinkedIn, but more importantly, the structure of LinkedIn. What I'm going to do is, I don't want to keep on boring you with a presentation. I'm going to jump straight into LinkedIn, and I'm going to take you through LinkedIn, and I want to show you how to set this up in LinkedIn for success. Now, as I said, you know, a lot of times when people go into LinkedIn, they're in such a rush to start getting results and get their first connection, to say yes to the invite, to get their first post out there, that they just want to go in, set up their profile quick, and start working and see if this LinkedIn thing is going to work for them. Don't do that. This is a piece of technology, and it has got a heap of features. Familiarize yourself with your tool. I am not a very good cook, unfortunately, as an example. But give me a recipe that says step 1, step 2, step 3, and then this is how you operate the stove. I can also get something out of the kitchen other than something from Woolies. LinkedIn is the same way. Familiarize yourself with LinkedIn. Know what you can and can't do before you rush in and just try and get results. Familiarize yourself with the menu system. The first is the homepage. When you log into LinkedIn, you always get your homepage. The setup in the homepage is very simple. On the left-hand side is your stuff. On the right-hand side is the LinkedIn stuff. And in the middle is your community content. Content that LinkedIn believes you are interested in based on your profile setups. And towards the end, I will talk to you a little bit more about your profile and the importance of it. But what you see here is based on what you engage with in LinkedIn, but it's also based on the keywords, hashtags, and so on that you have in your profile. So if you are seeing a lot of stuff that you don't want, you've done one of two errors. You either didn't set up your profile the correct way, or you're engaging with the wrong stuff. In other words, you just go and like things.
Lily, sorry. I think you may need to stop sharing. Are you sharing a LinkedIn? Because we only see the PowerPoint.
Okay, I'll share again.
Okay, thanks.
Let us just jump back into LinkedIn. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I'll just quickly go over that just so that you guys can see it again. So your home is really where you land when you log in. The left-hand side is your stuff, the right-hand side LinkedIn stuff. If you scroll down, here is all of the LinkedIn links that you might want to have a look at. If you are seeing things from your community, in other words, posts that you're not interested in, you either engage with content for the sake of just liking and commenting to get yourself out there, or in the majority of cases, it's your profile that has the wrong keywords or hashtags. There is a way to fix it. You can always go and say to LinkedIn, if you click on this little eclipse, the little 3 dots here, if you click on it, you can say to LinkedIn, I don't want to see this ad. Or if it's not an advert, you can say to LinkedIn, I do not want to see this. And LinkedIn will ask you why not. I'm not interested in this author because he's not my ideal client. He is my ideal client, but I'm not interested in his topic. I've seen too many posts like this, and so on. So you can train LinkedIn to see what you want to see in the homepage. And this is important because if you keep on seeing posts that you're not interested in, you need to start off by stop just liking other people's posts, or revisit your profile and look at if your profile has been set up the correct way. The next one that you need to look at is My Network tab. And the network tab is where you should spend most of your time on. On the left-hand side is a summary of your network. So it will tell you your connections, contacts, and so on. And it's a numbers game where it says how many connections you have, contacts, people that you follow, groups that you follow, and so on. So it just gives you an overview of your activity. The top right-hand block will give you updates. What is important here is on the right-hand side, and this is a little trick. On the right-hand side, it will say see all to if there are invitations. If you have no invitations, it will say manage. If you click on it, you're going to see what invitations you received, or this is the important part, is what invitations have you sent. Now, you need to clean these out. If you keep on inviting people and never clean it out, LinkedIn is going to think that you're spamming people, and they might come and ask you some questions by either restricting your account or restricting your invitations. Make sure that you keep this below 100. We can invite 100 people to connect with on a weekly basis. And I have taken that 100 limitation seriously. And we always make sure that we clean out the invitations that people do not accept and make sure that we keep this nice and tidy. It is the people side that can become problematic. I have seen people's accounts that's got thousands, and they're just lucky that LinkedIn didn't jump in and restricted their account. So keep your account nice and tidy and clean. You need to also clean it out, because if I withdraw my invitation to Ray, I cannot reach out to him again for 3 weeks. So the longer you take to clean it out, the less opportunity you have to go in and go and invite them again. It might be that Ray is on a 3-week holiday or a 6-week business trip and didn't see my invitation. So when he comes back, I want to reach out to him, and I can't because I withdrew it, and it takes 3 weeks before I can go back in. So on the network, that is a little tip and trick that you need to look at. At the bottom is some suggestions of LinkedIn. I don't use these. I work according to my own criteria, and I don't follow LinkedIn's guidelines. I prefer to connect with people that I've engaged with and I've started building relationships with through my content, rather than just go and connect with all of these people. And I've seen people on LinkedIn just go in here and connect to everybody. And then at the end of the day, they sit with a connection list that is not targeted, and they lose out. There's some recommendations for pages, there's recommendations for newsletters, and so on. So there's a lot of information over there. I don't use any of this. I search for my own stuff through LinkedIn, but it could be, if you just started out, that you can go and look at some of these and qualify them as your ideal client and then connect to them. I'm not going to discuss the jobs, but the job portal is really, if you are looking for work or if you want to advertise, it's a very simple tab in LinkedIn. Messaging is always been a problem in LinkedIn because it is very, very primitive. There's not a lot that you can do, except what we normally do is we go and do the unreads and just go and action our unreads that we have, and so on. But that is about the only filter that you have in LinkedIn. The other one is your notifications, and this is where you're going to spend a lot of time on, because this is where LinkedIn notifies you of the activities of your your community, your first connections. This is where they're going to tell you who's having a birthday, who's doing what. It's also going to give you feedback on some of the posts you've done and so on. And you can work through this on a daily basis. And then you've got what we call the Me tab, and I'm going to get back to the Me tab. In the Work tab is a couple of criteria that you can go through. You can do advertising here. You can go straight to posting a job. If you subscribe to the learning portal, you can go there. You can look at your insights, which is going to take you to the job portal, LinkedIn Talent Insights. So not something that we use. This is where you're going to find the groups that you belong to, your own group. The services marketplace is also something that you can search for, so you can see if you can find any proposals and so on. From there, you can search for providers for specific things in LinkedIn. This is a very nice, handy tool. Play with it a bit, see what comes up. And if you find it useful, you can get proposals from here, for instance. And if you're looking for specific services, so I can go and say, I'm looking for finance, and in specific, I want to do planning. And then LinkedIn will go and search for profiles in this category. And yet another reason why it is so important to set up your profile the right way. Other services here is Sales Solutions will take you through to Sales Navigator, Post a Job for Free, Marketing Solutions, and Learning. And this is where you create your company page. Sales Navigator is the paid version. In Sales Navigator is where we go and build our funnels. So you'll see in my Sales Navigator, I've got my second connections. These are people I want to connect with. When they connect, I push them to the funnel and I send them a welcome message. From there, I send them some content to introduce myself as a thought leader. And I send them a content message. And from there, I send them a page invite. And from there, the group. So Sales Navigator is optional. I have found Sales Navigator a very useful tool to manage my relationship building on LinkedIn. And this is how I know how I progress. Once a person shows interest, I put them in a call to action list, because I always ask for an email and or a telephone number. And as you can see, I've got 20 people that would like to know more of me. And I've got 12 leads so far for today. So this is how I control my funnel system in LinkedIn, is through Sales Navigator. There is no other way unless you want to use an Excel spreadsheet or a CRM tool like Salesforce, Soho, HubSpot, and so on. What is important is your Me tab. In your Me tab is where you can view your profile, where you can view your posts and activities, and where you can view all of the company pages that you manage. What is important in your Me tab is your settings and privacy. Now, there's a couple of things I'm just going to highlight in your settings. One of the biggest problems people have, and I think I've said it a couple of times in today's webinar, is they want to jump up and get started as quick as possible. However, once you understand LinkedIn and you've gone through the menu systems and understand how LinkedIn works and what each one of those menu items actually do, and I literally advise you to do that, you need to go and set up your settings. You see, because LinkedIn is setting up certain settings for their user base to make sure that their users get a good experience. Now, that might not always be in not for LinkedIn's benefit. The account preferences is important. This is where you're going to say how you want to display and so on. But it's also where you can set up your language, autoplay videos. I have my autoplay videos always on yes, profile feed. One of the things that you need, what I need to highlight here is always have people also viewed to no. Please set that to no. The default is yes. What LinkedIn is doing is it's displaying your competitors on your profile page on the right-hand side. So people might look at me as a LinkedIn expert, and LinkedIn will on the right-hand side go and list all of the other LinkedIn experts they can find, because that's my major keyword. And in that way, you're actually helping your competitors to get more exposure. So that is one of the most important aspects on your settings. And that's just an example of what you need to look out for when you set up your settings. Your sign-in is your email addresses and all of those. Visibility is just, do you want to show your full profile? Of course you do. Why would you want to do anything else than that? What I want to highlight here is protect your community by setting your connections to no. In other words, choose if your connections can see your connection list. No. If you're connecting with me, I want you to know that this is a safe place. I'm not going to sell your data to someone else or list your information if it's not what you want. So that is just a goodwill gesture that you show to your community that you're building on LinkedIn. Your communications, you've got 3 ways that you can communicate on LinkedIn. You can either do it on LinkedIn through the notification tab at the top. You can have emails. In other words, every time something happens on your LinkedIn account, LinkedIn will email you, or you can push it. My account is very busy, so I only use on LinkedIn. I'm in any case in LinkedIn all the time. If not on my desktop, then on my mobile app. So I prefer to only set it up on LinkedIn and not to use email or push it and so on. So you can decide, but if you go into it, it gives you everything that you want. People want to be notified on. And you can go through this and see what is important to you. And then you can also go through your reach and so on. You can go through your data privacy. What is important here that I need to highlight is get a copy of your data. You can go in and work your account, and we normally once a month for us and our clients will go in and download the connections that we have. It's far easier to go and monitor if I am connecting with my ideal clients or not in an Excel spreadsheet than to try and sift through everything on LinkedIn. It's just not possible. So this is something you can do on a monthly basis, and you can just request an archive. As soon as LinkedIn has prepared the archive, they will notify you via email. You'll get a download button here. You can download it into Excel and then manipulate the data that way. So that is what is important on the settings side. Just quickly on your activities, what is important is just keep a monitor on that, on what do you like, what do you comment on, because if you see anything that you've maybe commented on and you really shouldn't, because you're going to mess up your news feed, you can then have a look at it that way, or you can monitor and see, is there any comments? So I might have liked this, but what is the comments? Is there any comments that I can comment on, for instance, to try and create conversation? So this is how we engage, by just looking what other people are saying, and maybe I find someone in here that might be my ideal client, and I might want to reply to a comment they've done. That might not be a very good example by congratulating people. But I can go and have a look and see there's 3 comments on here, and I could go and have a look, and maybe I can comment on this comment to start building a relationship with Lindsay, because she's my second connections, but she might be my ideal client. And that's how I establish a relationship, so that when I ultimately go out and ask her to connect with me, she knows me and will accept. And that way I keep my conversion rate high. Articles is where you post an article. I do newsletters on a weekly basis. And this is just where you can monitor the growth. Posts is your posts that you can post on a daily basis. And if you post, this is on my group. If you post on your group, it will show up here, and it will also show up here if you do on your profile. Your page post stays on the page, and it will not come in here. Documents is where you upload PDFs, and they become little slideshows. These little slideshows works very well. We normally create them in Canva, download it as a PDF, upload it into here, and it becomes a slideshow. So these are very handy. We get huge engagement on some of these slideshows. So another tip, create slideshows as PDFs, upload it into LinkedIn, and you can get a heap of information out and really start building relationships. On your page is where you are going to see your posts, and the posts that you've done. It is separate to your profile always, and you can monitor your progress by looking at the increase on your visitors, your followers, and post impressions. Most importantly, and lastly from my side, is, as I said in the presentation, everything starts with your profile. So once the process is, once you've understand as a beginner how LinkedIn is laid out and what all of these menu options means, you then need to focus on your profile. The most important part of your profile is what we call above the fold. And this is the portion that you see on the screen now. You've got 3 seconds to grab attention. If you don't grab attention within 3 seconds, you've lost an opportunity. Or you got rid of someone you didn't want to connect with. The 3 most important elements here is your banner, is your profile, and then your headline. Your headline needs to answer 3 questions. Who are you dealing with? So who are you talking to? What do you do for them? And how do you do it to make yourself credible? That is the perfect formula for the perfect headline, and it will attract the right audience for you. Other areas that you need to focus on is what you talk about. If you put creator mode on, so you have the right hashtags, you can create a services page in LinkedIn now, where if I put in my services that I provide, I can put in a little overview. Very few people know about this and use this effectively. So you can have all of this also available, and you get your service page details over here. What you can do is you unfortunately only have a small bit over here, but it does give you an opportunity to slot in your contact details. So sometimes if people ask me, tell me more about your services, I can say to them, just go to my services page and contact me. And that way I get exposure and they can see what kind of services as a summary that I do provide. We are looking forward to LinkedIn actually giving us a little bit more options on that. Other areas that is important is your about section. There's a very specific way that you need to set it up. People don't read, they scroll. And this is where you slot in as many keywords as possible. Your experience, most people will tell you their whole CV and what they've done. What we do and what we advocate is every single service I provide, I detail in my experience. I can only focus on one thing in my profile, otherwise I confuse people. But I can, in my experience, tell people everything that I do. So to summarize and to conclude, because I think my time is running out, I have huge fun, so I can continue for any length of time. The process is very simple. Familiarize yourself with LinkedIn by going through the settings and the layout. Have your marketing strategy in your armor, and then come and build a hyper-optimized profile so that you can attract the right audience, and when you reach out to people, that they will want to connect with you. It is a tedious task to set up your profile. I normally liken it to a website. You know, people spend a lot of time and effort and money on creating a website and getting SEO going, and then to just be on the first page. By opening your LinkedIn account, if I go to a Google search over here and I say search for Tilly Davies, I'm going to be second. Only my LinkedIn profile is going to be second only because I've got a website, Tilly Davies. So you can get website exposure by just optimizing your profile in the right way. What is important? First impressions last. So if you want to go see who I am and you Google search me, click on this link and go to my profile and it doesn't leave a good impression, you have just damaged your brand. What we do is we do LinkedIn makeovers for our clients. We will do it for you. But we've launched and introduced a method where we run a LinkedIn makeover online workshop. We do it every Thursday from 2 till 5, and there's a bonus hour of 6. Where literally what we do is we help you to formulate your LinkedIn marketing strategy before the workshop. We help you to identify your ideal client and map the lead journey. And we collect all of your graphics before the workshop. When the workshop starts, we do your LinkedIn makeover, your ideal client mapping. We teach you the 5 daily activities. And while all of that is taking place, our graphic designers will complete your banner for you. And at the end, we will message you an ebook with message templates that you can use, that we've used, that converts like crazy. And as I said, we've allocated additional time for this. I spoke to Tracy about this as well. Next week, I am going to show you how the money is in the message. So today I focused mainly on the beginner, where you should start. It would be a very good idea to do the LinkedIn Makeover workshop. It's $129 for an individual. If there's a group of 10 or more, we do group pricing for $99 per attendee. So have a look at that. That is my recommendation. We are running a workshop on this Thursday and every Thursday this month, and we'll continue with that. But that would be a very good step for you to have a very solid start. I do see there's a lot of chats in here. Tracy, is there any questions?
Yes, there were a couple of questions, Tilly, and one, I'm going to go from bottom up. One question that Jonathan asked is, how do we attract the correct target audience?
The way that you attract the right target audience, Jonathan, is through setting up your profile with the correct keywords. One of the areas in your LinkedIn profile is the skills and endorsements. Now, on your profile, you get skills and endorsements and recommendations. Skills and endorsements and recommendations is different in that recommendations are people that you actually know and worked with. So you delivered a service to them. Skills and endorsements is a LinkedIn tool that they use to position you on a LinkedIn search. In other words, if I go into my skills endorsements and say LinkedIn and marketing is one of my skills, I'm going to ask you to endorse me if you're a connection of mine. Because what LinkedIn does is they go through the skills and endorsements and see who has LinkedIn marketing listed there and how many people endorsed you for it. In other words, how many of your connections actually went and said, Tilly is qualified in LinkedIn marketing. So if you have 0 endorsements on your skills, you're going to cripple yourself. So that is one area that LinkedIn use. Furthermore, in your about section, in your headline, everything in your profile, and the content that's displayed on your profile is how you attract an audience.
Thank you, Tilly. Just a quick question from Valeria. She asked, what does cleanup mean? Does it mean to withdraw often then?
Say that again, Tracy, I missed that.
Cleanup. So Valeria's asked, what does cleanup mean? Does it mean you withdraw from your contacts often?
Yeah, cleanup means you withdraw. Cleanup means there's two places you need to clean up, Valeria, is your invitations that you sent, you must withdraw. And the other cleanup that you need to do is archive your messages that comes in. Don't keep them in your inbox. So as you've dealt with your messages, just like you manage your email system, we clean out our messaging system every day. Otherwise, you don't know where you are. So those are the 2 major cleanups that you need to do, withdrawing and deleting your messages.
Thank you, Tilly. I think that this webinar this morning has been completely informative, outstanding, and you know, your word, your expert, your extraordinary way that you deal with LinkedIn, so testament to everything that you've shared with us this morning. And for our audience that have joined us, please remember that the next part with Tilly on LinkedIn Intermediate will be held next Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We have put the link in the chat box, so please register to join us. And Tilly, I think it's absolutely amazing the way that you speak about LinkedIn. You make us just understand that for those of us that use it as just nice to look at and see who you're connecting with, but for us specifically as a brand, for Orchet, I love what you spoke about with regards to the networking on LinkedIn. So that's definitely something that we would like to do. I see that Ariel has spent the last hour with us. Helene has spent the last hour with us, and I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to meet them at the beginning of this webinar. So Ariella and Helene, Tilly, and for everybody else, thank you so much. We will see you next week. Please, may I ask, if you have a friend, a family member, or anyone else that you would like to refer to AutoJet to get business assistance, please do so. We will be hosting the AutoJet business induction next week, the 10th of February at Aut at 4 p.m. If you would like to refer anyone to us, please contact me directly, or alternatively admin@autjet.org.za. I'd also like